The Russian Revolution of 1905 was a big factor of the Revolution of 1917. Our thesis statement is, in the year 1917, many Russians protested for a change in political leadership, and Tsar Nicholas II's policies were very unpopular, as he would treat the wealthy people better than the common man or Bolsheviks. After the Bolsheviks' many protests, they triumphed in 1917 by having overthrown the Tsar in the Communist Revolution. The Tsar got dethroned and Russia became a socialist society, but at a price. As the tragedy affected many Bolsheviks and the common people, as lots of Russians died in pursuit of their revolution. We will be starting from things that caused the Russian Revolution in 1905 and to Lenin's death, which was in 1924.
Karl Marx is often called the father of communism because he wrote the Communist Manifesto. His version of communism is called Marxism. This was one of the many pushes to start communism. But what is communism? Communism is almost exactly like socialism, but with a small difference. The ways that communism can be done vary from leader to leader. Typically, communism involves everyone who isn't the leader sharing the wealth and resources. One huge thing that caused the Russian Revolution of 1917 was that the King of Russia, who was the Tsar II, ignored most of the needs for his people. But why did he do this? Well, when he was a kid, he wanted to be strong like his dad, who was Alexander III. He called Nicholas weak, and Nicholas wanted to prove his father wrong. Who were Lenin and the Bolsheviks?
Lenin and his Bolsheviks were a group of Marxists who wanted to overthrow Nicholas II and made everyone in Russia equal in all the same social class. So, after almost a year of protest and fighting with Tsar and his government, Lenin and his Bolsheviks were able to overthrow Tsar, and Lenin became the communist dictator, which in turn made Russia fall under a communist rule.
What is a communist rule? Communist rule is when every person in a country except the ruler share all the wealth with the ruler, not having to share the wealth with anyone. Now, this may seem as this has stopped as it had happened decades ago, but even today, some countries are still under a communist rule, which might be shocking to some people. But change can happen, so these countries might be able to be under a communist rule.
Now let's talk of some of the main reasons why the Russian Revolution of 1917 happened, because of the Russian Revolution of 1905. The Russian Revolution of 1905 happened because, mainly, the Tsar's troops opened fire at workers in St. Petersburg in 1905.
This caused the Russian Revolution of 1905. It began as protesters began to arise, and 500 protesters were killed on a day known as Bloody Sunday. This act made people become more outraged, leading to protests against the Tsar.
The revolution ended when the Tsar abducted the throne of Russia. After the Tsar abducted the throne, he offered his brother the title of Tsar. His brother refused, effectively ending the Romanov dynasty.
After the Tsar's brother refused the throne, and Vladimir Lenin gained power, Russia was turned into a communist country. This revolution was what paved the way for the Soviet Union we said was a huge part for the Russian Revolution of 1917 to happen. What was the tragedy and the triumph? The triumph of this event was changing the way Russia led itself and changed the course of Russian history. The resulting tragedy of this monumental event was the downfall of the 300-year-old Russian Empire. This wraps up our short documentary. Hope you had fun and learned something new that you didn't already know.